So we got Nate Jackson, Madison partners.
Right.
And we've had a great kind of pre-show conversation. Now we're going to get into the real thing. Nate has been a hoot to talk with, and I think you guys are going to love hearing his experiences and kind of his journey into the commercial real estate game. We've had a lot of different people on the show here lately, a lot of up-and-comers in the real estate industry, and I'm excited to learn more. And I hope you are too. So we got Nate. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm humbled to be here.
Yeah.
I really am. I talk a lot. Everyone that knows me knows that. But I've never actually done it in an official capacity. So I'm humbled. Thanks for having me.
No, man. Like I said, I've been following the content that you guys have been putting out on social media, you in particular. And like I said, it's kind of like I'm recruiting folks to kind of tell their story. And I know in the commercial real estate industry, it's more about word of mouth and kind of building your brand.
Right.
I think this is a great platform to do it. And like I said, I thought you would be good to have on the show.
Right. I appreciate that. It is all about branding and word of mouth. And so that's why I think it's a great idea to have the podcast and we had talked in pre-production. I think that's what that kind of part of it was about, how there's like there's a change of the guard. There's a new generation of brokers that are coming in that grew up with the internet.
That's right.
And, people are starting to get normalized to the podcast and things of that nature. So it's a great opportunity to get to know people and to build relationships where I'm not sure too many brokers that'll turn out an opportunity to come and talk a little bit about what they do on a daily basis, because it helps.
For sure.
Right.
So let's go from the very beginning. We seem to have some fondness for basketball and in high school. Tell us about your high school you went to and kind of that background.
Yeah, so I went to Lake Country Christian School for 2 years. That's out in Eagle Mountain. I don't know if that's an official city, but it's like Boswell area.
That's right. Yeah.
Eagle Mountain. And so me and my brother actually transferred out there because we wanted to play basketball.
Okay.
There's a really good coach from Minden, Louisiana, who at the time kind of recruited us, I guess.
Was there a lot of players from other areas?
Yeah, so we took like 3 other guys that were public school kids that really knew how to play, and I'm not sure exactly how the timing worked out for all of us to be there at the same time, but there were some other 5A public school guys that were within a pretty good pipeline of coaches, and they were going to go on and have good careers, but they stopped what they were doing and came to Lake Country. We wanted to win a state championship, so. Got it.
Did you ever get a chance to go out to the lake?
No, I actually didn't, which is funny enough. I've been to like Lake Louisville and Grapevine Lake and all that stuff, but I've never actually, my mom worked at Kenneth Copeland Ministries for I don't know how long.
Okay.
But she had an office that you can kind of see the lake, but I've never actually been on Eagle Mountain Lake.
Got it. No, it seems like a really, really cool lake. I heard a lot of people, when I lived in the mid-cities, a lot of people would go out there.
Right. There's like party coves and stuff like that.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
I didn't have
I'm sure that wasn't part of y'all's...
No, Lake Country, there was some obviously some pretty well-off people. And so they had some really nice houses that we would have parties at, but try to stay out of like the public eye, I guess you can say.
Makes sense. Yeah. So you go there, and then what's next?
So I transferred back after we won the state championship our sophomore year. I was the youngest guy. I was a sophomore, and everyone else were seniors, so they were getting ready to graduate. I had been kind of talking to some of the coaches back at Fossil Ridge High School, which was where I'm originally from, Keller, Texas. Fort Worth, I guess. Yeah. Fossil Ridge is technically Fort Worth, Fort Worth.
They got like 3 high schools now, don't they?
Man, we're so segmented out there. If we weren't, I think we'd probably be the powerhouse that you see the Allens and the Trinities and the South Lakes. But we have Keller Central, we have Keller Fossil Ridge, we have Keller Timber Creek, and then Keller.
Yeah, so there's and then 4. You got the private schools that are within that same area.
And then we have the private schools, So then that kind of segments up the talent. But anyway, I went back to Fossil Ridge High School to graduate with a lot of the guys that I went to intermediate and middle school with. And so that kind of gave me the opportunity to just build more relationships with them. But I finished off my career playing basketball there and ended up going to Navarro Junior College to play basketball. And that only worked out for about a half a semester. And I transferred to Mason City, Iowa, which is the last place that I played before I just hung the shoes up and decided it was time to get serious about school and what the future looked like from a professional standpoint.
Got it. So it was interesting when we were talking before, you were talking about the the different jobs and the different things that you did.
Right.
But before we get to that, so when you left Navarro, were you in the working, or what were you doing in between there?
No, I was just being a poor college kid.
Okay.
I get the $50 or $100 that my parents could send me every week.
Okay.
Eating at, the food hall or whatever they called it, or like going to Walmart and getting like the hot plates for like $5.
Yeah. The Hunger Man.
Yeah. So that's what I was doing at the time, and I had turned down like Division II scholarships because I thought I was a D1 guy, which there's a lot of misconceptions with kids and stuff like these days.
Yep.
Hindsight being 2020, I probably would have just taken the easy route and just like went and had my school paid for.
Yep.
And lived an easier lifestyle. Which, if there's any people out there watching that have not made a college decision yet and they're just starting their professional
just get it for
deal
free.
early. Yeah. If somebody's offering to pay for your school, take that and go have that experience and have fun.
That's right.
But yeah, so I was just being a poor college kid at Navarro before I ended up transferring and going to Mason City.
I've lived that life.
Man,
a lot of ramen.
It's not fun. It's not fun. I was sleeping on a couch because I didn't like my dorm room, and I had some buddies there that were playing football on the football team. So I think they were on full-ride scholarship, and I don't know how they got money to have an apartment, but I was sleeping on their couch.
Got it.
Because I was just like, I don't like my roommate.
Yeah, the dorm. Yeah.
So that was a fun half semester.
I've had some stories with roommates. I actually had to call my dad in the middle of the night and was like, hey, I might get kicked off the team for what's about to happen.
Right.
He's like, as long as you don't get hurt, that's fine.
Right. You live and you learn.
That's right. So as we move the ball down the field here, you were at Navarre, you went to Mason City. Where would we go next?
So after Mason City, I had to redshirt because I transferred and I couldn't play.
Okay.
So I just spent a lot of time just like developing myself, spending a little bit more time reading and really trying to like improve.
What books were you?
So my parents are avid readers. My dad's an engineer, so he's a real technical guy, just likes to learn a lot. Mm-hmm. And, I come from a Christian household and stuff like that. So personal development books have always been something that my parents are like, hey, you should read this or you should read that. So like The Richest Man in Babylon, just like some of those books that really will like create a good foundation for understanding in the future how to navigate and how to maybe like have this perspective about money.
Yep.
And just things like that were just, I'm 25 now. I think that it did a great job in giving me a foundation to where I don't have to make a lot of the same mistakes that guys that are 25 years old now making money are making.
Yep.
And so I can't put a finger exactly on what books we were reading, but they were personal development kind of books. And it was just trying to keep my mind busy as I'm sitting here not playing, practicing but not playing, which is like, it can take a stress.
As an athlete going from, I see a lot of these athletes that are professional that they are lost because they haven't really thought about life after sports. And it kind of happens to us for those that are not in the pros at an earlier age where you've been so focused and committed to your craft, and then you're doing school. It's just a part of, just to be able to play the sport.
Right.
That when you don't have sports or, whatever you're doing, you're really like, all right, what am I going to do now?
Right.
So it's interesting because I kind of had that moment in my career where I was reading a lot of books and just trying to figure out, and a lot of it could be related to your passion. It could be related to how can I get money the fastest way?
Right.
And you're trying to find a happy medium of what your passion is outside of something that you've done from sun up to sundown. It's
man. So I like to say, I look at it because I have a bunch of friends that I actually got to play for 4 years, and a lot of them still ended up in a good place, and they have great trajectory for their careers. But in my scenario, I was actually thinking about it, and I think I was blessed for basketball not to work for me to the extent that I wanted it to.
I agree. I feel that way.
Right. So I thought that I wanted to go to the JUCO route. I thought I would end up at like a mid-major Division I school, and then I was going to have whatever experience I had from there. Mm-hmm. Live the campus life, do what all the other Division I college athletes do.
Yep.
Party and do all these other things, and then eventually graduate and figure it out. But in my scenario, I was kind of forced to like, okay, well, now that basketball's not going to work, the NBA is not going to work.
That's right.
No professional route overseas is going to work. How are you going to like create a trajectory for your life that you can be satisfied with?
Yep.
Outside of just like punching a clock.
I've had opportunities to play with Dirk and Steve Nash and a lot of guys in summer league back in the day.
That's good enough, right?
Yeah, and that my cup is full with basketball. I'm like, I'm not ready for this level.
Right.
But yeah,
That's
you find these moments where you're like, man, I'm so glad I didn't go play overseas, because the guys that come back from overseas,
starting
from ground zero on trying to create a career in their mid 30s or early 30s, and like they're further behind.
Might not work out,
and it might not work out because you've been so pot committed. You've been working. Now you've made it a job,
right?
And you really haven't created any seed or planted any seeds to kind of develop your professional career.
Right.
And then guys end up they're wanting the same money, doing something that they feel is probably harder because it's not their true passion.
Right.
And then they don't have the love for it because they haven't developed or cultivated those skills.
Right. So, I mean, that's exactly why I think that it was the right move for me to just hang my shoes up and say, okay, like, what am I going to do now?
Right.
And so I had a lot of people that helped me kind of shape the vision of what that was going to look like.
Right.
And my dad is an aerodynamic engineer for Lockheed Martin. And so with that comes a lot of very intelligent men that he's been a part of. I was named after my dad's best friend, who was a sports agent. He started Maxim Sports with a guy named Roosevelt Barnes now.
Yep.
And so, I saw the kind of life that they got to create for themselves as entrepreneurs. I mean, he was an attorney, so I mean, still there's an entrepreneurial perspective or experience there. And so I think that at some point I would have figured it out, but I'm glad that it was earlier rather than later.
Yep.
And so I had a really good friend, actually, and I'll the next question after this, but I had a really good friend. He went to UCLA, and he was one of the guys that really changed my perspective as to what I should be doing in college.
Yep.
In college, like, I thought I was going to go, like, just be plugged into the resource center and the career center at UNT and get like a great recommendation as like what I should do in the future. And so his he played football at UCLA, and one of his donors, or I don't know what they call them, sponsors. Boosters, right.
Yep.
One of his boosters is like the complex managing director at Royal Bank of Canada in Westwood, California.
Wow.
So he's kind of showed him the game, and in turn, he turned around and was like, hey, you need to be getting in front of as many decision makers in these sectors as possible. And so that's what I started to do. And that really, I think that was the fact that I started doing that in college.
Yep.
Put me in the position that I was in today to be able to like talk the talk.
That's right. That's right. So as we go through it here, you had mentioned something that you took a lot of internships while you were in school.
Right.
To try a lot of different things. What kind of internships did you take?
So funny, oddly enough, not oddly, but I listened to a guy named Gary V on Instagram.
Very, very much an advocate, mentor, and
right. So without having that in real life, as to like what I should do as an entrepreneur, like a guy that was wanting to get and to some extent into entertainment and media.
Yep.
He's like, hey, like the most valuable experiences you're gonna have, you're most likely not gonna get paid for. The experience itself is the payment.
That's right.
And so the reason why I was able to have a few experiences that I might not have had otherwise is because I was willing to do it for free.
Yep.
And so I was a media relations intern with the UNT athletic department. That semi happened because my brother was on the team at the time.
Okay.
But take your leverage where you can and use it.
Yep.
I also wrote for the NT Daily, which was unpaid, but I was able to put that experience on my resume.
Yep.
And I mean, you can go back and look at the articles that I was writing now. I mean, it's just a good resource for people to be able to see, like, it's not all about the money right now. It's about gaining experience. And when people see that, like, that's what you're trying to do, they're more willing to help.
I understand. Yeah.
So
I totally did my share of internships.
Right.
So I'm a big Gary Vee fan, and this is the reason why we do the podcast, and among others.
Right.
But he's been definitely a guiding light and a mentor for, a lot of the things that I think about. He's kind of the person that when I'm listening to it, like, yeah, I need to push through it. Because a lot of the things that we do are not, like, this podcast is not necessarily our ROI positive, but I enjoy meeting new people. My background is in radio, TV, film, that kind of deal.
Right.
And but I'm in a construction industry. So somebody's like, why are you doing this? Well, I'm building my network. I'm able to connect with new people. I'm also putting people on and helping people out
Right.
build their own personal brand. So it's not really about what I'm doing, but I think it's a need in this commercial real estate and just real estate period,
Right.
you know, for people to see behind the.
Well, it's something that like a lot of the guys aren't doing. I mean, you look at some of these other contracting companies and how do they do business development?
Yep.
The traditional way.
The traditional.
And so
way,
like we mentioned in pre-production or
Yep.
before like we started actually recording is talking about how there's the new generation of brokers who grew up with the internet.
That's right.
Guys are a lot more familiar with like they'll hop on LinkedIn and connect with somebody and message them to try to get something done.
Exactly.
And so if you're constantly out there and you're the contractor, specialty contractors, you know, I remember that name now, even though it's not something that like, you know, we don't interact on a business
For sure.
tip every day, but I know who you are, and I'm sitting here, and like you said, we might not see it as being ROI positive now, but
Yep.
I think just with consistency and pushing through it,
Yep.
you know, this is more of a platform for me, I think, than it is for
sure.
you.
For sure. And that's what I would hope. I'm not,
Right.
you know, as Gary says, I'm not trying to get any thunder. I would just hope, you know, this is my jab, and
Right.
at some point, if I do a right hook, you know,
It's gonna land.
Yeah, it's
Right.
gonna land. So, good stuff. I didn't know that you're a Gary Vee fan, but that's cool.
Yeah, I'm a lot like I think that again going
What
back
about
to
Grant Cardone? You Grant Cardone fan?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
If you follow Gary Vee, it's like
Right.
Gary
You're
Vee
gonna see
fans
him.
versus Grant Cardone.
They
yeah.
definitely cross market to the same people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I try to, and going back to the social media, I think that speeds up a lot of people's timeline.
Yep.
And I used to be the guy that would get on social media now, or, you know, I would get on social media and try to like portray this image.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's internally in my own head, no one else is doing this to me, but I'm speeding up my own timeline as to like what I should have done and when I should have that done.
Yep.
And so I try to stay away from guys that like put that, I mean, some pressures are good, right? But then also it's just like trying to force my timeline up, and I'm not able to actually make the long-term decisions that I want to make because I feel like I should go buy an apartment complex right now.
Well, I think it's good.
So,
I'm totally with you.
Right.
I think it's good to have those goals though. But I think what it is, and my wife is always asking me, she's like, why do you not feel like this is enough, right?
Right.
Even back in the day when I was in the corporate world. And I think it's just because maybe whether it's being an athlete or just being a guy, period, there's certain things or certain places that you have in your head that you want to be.
Right.
Right. Like, oh, by the time I'm 25, I want to have X done.
Right.
By the time I'm 30, and it's usually in the 5-year increments.
Right.
That you have.
It's because you hear the 1 year, 5 year, 10 year. You're always supposed to have
so
that.
you're always kind of, all right, man. Either you're looking at it and it's never like, oh, I hit my number, right?
Right.
So I always wanted to be 40 under 40,
Right.
right? I got a version of that, but it wasn't what it was. So I was like, dang, all right, I need to do this. I need to do. But me buying this company was one of those I got to do this by.
Right.
And it pushed me to do it.
Well,
So-
that's what me and my wife and I'm always the guy that's like, well, we got to do that. This is why we're doing this.
Yeah.
And I have a plan for like our future financially, and obviously that has implications on our family in the future.
Sure.
I think that she's more on like women think more on like
Save.
right. Well, it's not even the saving. It's more so like, hey, like I want to have kids by this age.
Yep. So they do it in the family
Perspective, but they're like, okay, well, financially, what does that look like? And
Yep.
so I take that as like my responsibility to do that. And so like you can like I'm probably this year in a better financial position than I've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like we're not doing more things, and so it's a timeline that you're always working against, and you're kind of working against yourself.
Yep.
But you have to do everything in a balance, and I'm constantly working on that. But you hit the nail on the head with that for sure.
It's definitely a balance, and I think the wife is a good, because you'll drive yourself crazy,
Right.
and Gary's always talking about you got plenty of time. You especially have plenty of time,
Right.
because when I was 25, I was wilding out.
Right. I missed out on that. Well, I didn't miss out on that, but I get to spend that time that guys spend wilding out on like trying to like do these financial things, and if for whatever reason doesn't work and we go to zero, then I can just get it back.
You got to restart. You got to restart. So.
Right.
So from that perspective, you got a bunch of time, but I do know what you're talking about, because this is the other thing that pushes you. If you have a friend that is doing more, at the same age.
Right.
I think the competitive nature in us being athletes is like, oh man, my man just rolled up in it, and you don't really know the financial situation of your friends or to a certain degree outside of, hey, he works here and he's
right.
But if he gets a promotion or a couple promotions, you're like, I'm better than this dude, so I need to be. And it weighed on me.
Right.
I don't know.
No, and definitely you're hitting that. I've never like said this, but now that I think about it, I think that like being in an environment where guys are like really producing and they're really doing this. And I was telling you, like, I was working at Equity Cash Offer with a guy who is he's a young guy, but like he's been known in our friend circle as like the guy that knows how to get things done. Like he's a hustler.
Yep.
And like you admire him for it, right? But then you also look at like, you don't know how much time it's taken for him to get to that point. Like he was going through all these things that we don't even know about.
Sure.
But just being around certain guys and you're like, well, he's this age and he's doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're doing X amount of dollars in revenue. What does that mean for him taking that home and like creating a lifestyle for his family?
That's right.
And so like everyone's competent at different things, right? He might be a more competent salesman.
Yep.
Or he might be more competent at being able to scale a company, but I might be more competent in this. And I feel like I should be accomplishing this because he's doing it and we're the same age.
That's exactly
right. So I think that guys should take caution about that, though. Like be motivated by that. It's a very thin line between like motivation and like catching yourself like hating on somebody.
For sure. I totally agree. I mean, I even now I don't do it as much now, but I know I did it like crazy before. And I'm sure a lot of people looked at what I was doing around your age, throwing events, concerts.
I mean, you said you were hanging out with Outkast and like some of the greats, though.
Yeah, but at the time, like I wasn't making money,
right?
But the perceived value, the perception was like, he is killing it,
right.
But I wasn't really. I mean, I had a nice little apartment, but in my mind, I wasn't really like living that life. Whereas for other people that see that, they're like, man, I'm in a dorm and Derek's doing this. And but then I'm looking at somebody, so everybody, the envy is always like
gonna be there.
Yes, because I'm looking at Diddy.
Right.
Going up to, we're in the same company. He's going up to New York remixing albums. I'm like, how come I can't get to New York? So everybody's got somebody
that's
that
a dangerous game to get into.
Yeah, you're gunning for, and you kind of have to have, as Gary says, pull from both sides to create a balance. And
that's what your wife is for, right? To bring you, because if you like you said, you can drive yourself crazy.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, it's not about it's not about them. It does not matter at all. Like
I'm not even
can't take joy from your situation. Like you're in a great place.
I'm not even excited or enthused. I drive probably the worst car here in the company I own.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even as excited about things as I once was.
Right.
Because it's I don't know, man. It's weird. It's weird how it's evolved. Because shoes, things that you used to like revel in, like it don't even mean nothing no more.
See, I'm still young, so I have that problem where like I'm on Chrono 24. I'm like looking at this Rolex or this Cartier watch or whatever. I want this kind of car. So I will really appreciate when I get to the point where it's just like, it's about other things and like some of the.
I guess I'm at the point where I want less, but the things that I have, I want them to be timeless.
Right.
So like if I buy a car, I'm looking at like a 95 SL convertible that's appreciating.
I like that.
The one with the retractable roof. But like stuff like that versus I need the newest, latest, greatest. I want to have the appreciation for it.
Right.
Whether it be a watch or whether it be whatever, it's like I could take out half my closet right now and I'd be cool with it as long as I had 5 things or
to be able to put on. Yeah, less is more.
Yeah.
And so just to tie this all back into commercial real estate, and you're talking about like timelessness.
Yeah.
And how like this game, especially working on the principal side, you get to see it on a daily basis where like, you can't really put a number. I personally can't put a number and I don't really think about like what their net worth is.
Yep.
But you see like how far back they started accumulating these things and how that's benefiting like their family and their grandkids and like So generally, like guys,
so from that standpoint, how far back are you seeing it? Because again, we're talking about people planting seeds long time ago, right? And just sitting on it.
And also like tying that back into Gary Vee, where it's like, you're going to feel like a certain way at 75 that you're not assuming you're going to feel. So I think that like from our community, a lot of guys like want things now. Like when we start making 6 figures or 7 figures, whatever your thing is, like I want these things now, because I don't know how long I'm going to be here. And so there's a different take
playing
on
a short game.
We're planning on like some of these people's like family, like parents. Oh, he lived until he was 101.
Yeah.
So at 75, I have 35 more years. Not 35. I mean, that's wrong math. But anyway, just like try to prove the point to like, I think that we need to start taking a different perspective on like time.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I like the company was founded by Lou Reese.
Okay.
The third, I think. And so I'm not sure if he necessarily came from family money, but I think he started buying like property in like Lower Greenville, the old like where Torelli's is now.
Yep.
And Slater's 50/50 and Doty's. That was
used to be. I actually took my wife to Mix, which was right next to Torelli's.
Okay.
It burned down and then they rebuilt it. But,
right. So I'm not sure if that's when he exited the property, but he bought that property way back in the day for like $90,000.
Oh my god.
And so it's just been like an accumulation of things. And he got, I think, from what I've heard, whispers, I'm not sure like how accurate this is, but he was a big real estate figure back in the like 70s and 80s in Dallas during like the SNL stuff.
Okay.
But like he got his net worth up to close to like $1 billion.
Wow.
And so they've just been doing it since like early 60s, I think late 70s. And then they started buying up a lot of stuff in Deep Ellum and Lower Greenville back in the late 70s, like early 80s, I believe. Mm-hmm. So there's just been to see that like, okay, now we're going into 2020 and how that's like fed the family. You start to think about, okay, well, like maybe I should start thinking about things in terms of like timeless.
Yep. Generational.
Like, right. This is like 3 generations that you're seeing benefiting from the decision that one guy made. I don't know how many years ago. I don't want to do that. 70 years ago, however long ago it was. So,
it's definitely something, we talk about our community, African American community. It's definitely different thinking because our parents' generation was really the first that had an opportunity to create a really good living.
Right.
There were very, very few and far between in the 40s, 30s, 20s that pulled it off.
Right.
Like few. So our parents were, if they got an education, a degree, or in a corporate environment or entrepreneurial, were able to create a good life. So we're, I guess you would say, second generation, not money, but middle class, right? That has an opportunity to see money not as a means of just whatever, just to live. We see it as an opportunity for generations and generations. And that's the reason why I bought this company amongst other companies to continue to do that. Obviously, you're looking at those things, and it's great that,
we can have that perspective.
You can have that perspective.
So going back to like your time at Uptown and like just working within that business, I mean, you know who Jay-Z is. I'm sure a lot of these people that are going to watch this video know who Jay-Z is.
Yep.
He came out with the album 444, and like there's a song that's like it talks about legacy, and really just trying to break that down for people who might not like have those conversations on like a daily basis or a yearly or a base. They're not having that conversation at all.
Right.
And so, like you said, like our parents are some of the first people in your family line to actually have a real opportunity to say, okay, like, well, I shouldn't just like want to pay the bills. Like I want to actually like, I want to go make 6 figures and be able to do this and do that.
Yep.
But it's my belief that their vision was too small, and not to say that it's their own fault, but
well, they learned from their parents.
Right. So it's not their fault, but now like our vision with the internet and everything, I mean, it can be whatever you want it to be. And so I think that it's just a tremendous time to be in right now. And, the people have to make the decision to say, I'm going to be the one to start that.
Yep.
And so however you get there is how you get there. But I think that you should be, we keep talking about time. It's been a common thread. I think that you just have to be patient with yourself and diligent and take the time to actually do that. So
no, I agree. I think fast money goes fast. And I think if I pulled it out on everybody to buy this business.
Right.
A C Corp multi-million-dollar business. I think I surprised even my own family,
right.
you know, that I pulled it off, and they're like, because I was living below my means,
right.
and I just was waiting to pounce on something that I could do, something big, you
right.
know. Right. And the fortunate part about it was this great opportunity came about, and there were 3 other people that bid on it that had significant more opportunity to buy it, probably had other businesses, and the guy chose me. He actually interviewed all 3 of us and thought my personality and the way I was much better fitting for the employees of the company. So just a blessing, like you said. I mean, it's craziness. So
that's admirable. Before I came here, I didn't know that you owned it. So that's like, even, I mean, that's significant to me. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, man.
So.
Yeah. I put all my pennies together.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's what it takes.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So what's next, man? What do you want to do in the future with regards, we're talking about legacy. What's your next 5 years look like?
So I want to be a master at what I do. Mm-hmm. And so
what is it? Let's talk more about what you do currently for
right. So I do all of our portfolio leasing at Madison Partners.
Okay.
I wouldn't say all of it, actually. There's another broker that works on, like, we own Caruth Plaza with True Fusion and all the stuff off of 75 Expressway. People generally know where Caruth Plaza is.
Okay.
He works on that, and but I generally work on all of our infill properties, like Deep Ellum, Lower Greenville. Lakewood Village is an infill, but we just brought that back in house, and I'm working on that. We own the majority of the real estate right there in Expo Park. And so,
what do you think about the Expo Park is by the fair?
Right in front of Fair Park, right?
That's gonna be huge,
man. It's the next big thing. It might not happen this cycle.
Yeah.
But I think because of the Ubers coming to town and the Hines development coming to town, and Westlake has big money, and what they're doing, developing the neighborhood, is driving rents to a point where, you know, the grittiness of the neighborhood and the character of the neighborhood was within, like, the local business owners.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they're driving rents to a point where I'm not sure if they're going to want to take on new risk or, like, start new businesses. So Expo Park right now is prime. It's ripe for that opportunity to capture those people that, you know, would have wanted to be in Deep Ellum. Deep Ellum, I'm not saying it's losing any of its character, but when you get regional and national credit and money on the line, you know, it's going to feel a certain way. Like, you lose a certain feel. So Expo Park's really exciting. I think Spectre just took over like 100 acres of Fair Park, and they took it from public to private. So we're really excited about what they're going to do and the value they're going to add to the neighborhood.
That was just recently, right?
I don't know what month it was, but after, you know, we did the whole Amazon pitch for Fair Park, I think people kind of, like, identified that as, like, hey, like, that's really a big opportunity that we're all missing out on. So I'm not sure when that happened, but it happened this year.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, because I know that, I mean, the corridor there, what street is that going into Fair Park, going into the gates?
Right, so that's Exposition Avenue. Okay. So you get Exposition Avenue that's going, it's weird how it goes. So if you're coming up Commerce, you pretty much, like, keep going straight on Commerce, and then it turns in, after you go under 30, it turns into Exposition Avenue.
Yep.
And then the one that's parallel to the gates of Fair Park is Perry Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that they're doing it like Ross, buying up the back, the homes,
right,
left and right, and then they're going to change the face of the facade of the street, and
right.
It's going to be a wrap.
I had a couple of buddies who've bought a couple of houses that they're just, like, using them as rental properties and Airbnb because it's close enough to Deep Ellum, where they're getting some of that residual, like, I don't want to pay Deep Ellum, like, Airbnb price cost, but I'll go to Fair Park.
Yeah.
Which, if they knew the history about it, maybe they wouldn't. But I mean, it's working for them now. So we're just excited. But going back to the point is, like, really, a lot of guys in this game, it just takes patience. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a guy that's really willing to put the work in.
Yep.
In terms of, like, trying to read as much as you possibly can and trying to, like, shortcut or, like, cut your learning curve as much as you possibly can by just, like, talking to people and doing all that. But the longer that I've been in it, the more that I understand, and I have not been in it long at all. Like, 10 months is nothing. but within the 10 months that I've been there, I just realized like it's gonna take time.
Yeah,
like there is no really cutting this learning curve off.
It's in my opinion, it's probably 10 years away.
Right.
Like where it's like a West Dallas. Like
right.
West Dallas is going through the conversion now.
Right.
So,
but just going back to the point of, like I was saying, I wanted to master what I'm doing right now.
Yep.
And so hopefully I can do that within 5 years. My approach to this process is, you know, I've done one tenant rep deal this year, but the other deals that I've done have been just like portfolio lease, like project leasing,
yep.
like on the principal side. And so it's going to be a transactional thing where the more transactions you do, the better, the more you learn.
Yep.
But also, you know, and me and the cameraman were talking about how, and we talked about it a little bit in pre-production, where it's just like, well, some people might look at it as I'm in Lower Greenville and Deep Ellum and Lakewood Villa, which is like, or Lakewood Village, mm-hmm. Which is those are very good trade areas. Like you can pretty much put up a sign, and just like in a matter of time, you're going to lease your vacancies.
That's right.
To a certain extent. And so I want to be the guy that, you know, it doesn't matter what project I'm put on, I know how to create a strategy around actually getting it done and then being able to execute on that.
Got it.
So, I mean, part of the game is getting good real estate.
Yep.
It's location, right? But, you know, I want to be able to capitalize on opportunities where the location might not be the best thing. And I think that's probably my 5-year goal, is just like learning the blocking and tackling of being the best landlord representative that you can be.
Yep.
Because, you know, the next step to that is like learning how to like be on the developer side to a certain extent.
Yep.
Leasing and developing go hand in hand.
Yep.
So
no, that's good stuff, man. I enjoy talking with you, enjoy having you on, and
sure.
Look forward to talking to you in the coming, you know, months and years about how things are going. And
right.
We're going to be planning on doing some events, kind of taking this conversations offline and doing like a
specialty live, right?
Specialty live is what it's called.
Yeah.
So it'll be kind of a round table, so to speak, open mic, where people can kind of talk about the deals that they have going on, and
right.
You know, offline people can get together, but you basically go up to the mic and you say, hey, look, these are the deals that we're trying to get done. So it's not,
right.
You know, if you miss somebody in a meeting environment, there might have been two people that would have connected, but the way that the deals are done is like, I don't really.
Right.
He seems like he's busy. So,
right.
You know, you might have a buyer, or you might have an investor or somebody that's looking at a deal in those areas. And
right.
So
I'm looking forward to that. I think that, you know, your background obviously kind of speaks for itself. So,
yeah.
You know, we like to do the happy hours in real estate.
Yeah.
You know, real estate people like to party and they like to do all that stuff. So, definitely creating an environment where people don't feel like maybe I should or should not approach them.
Yep.
You know, I think that'll be great. So I'm looking forward to that.
Try to pull down the barriers, you know,
right.
of maybe somebody that's not as, you know, upfront about what they got cooking, and
right.
And allow them to kind of showcase what they have.
Right. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm really, again, humbled that you had me on.
No, man. Like I said, you're killing it on LinkedIn, posting your stuff, and
right.
The areas that you're in is hot and cooking. So
right.
Anything
hopefully
I can
we
do
can keep doing positive things that really like help build cohesive neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And so it's just exciting to be a part of it. It's not me. I would say like the main thing that I wanted to get on this podcast and say is like, I really believe in the power of people.
Yep.
And like you said, being open about things. And, you know, that's generally not how the old guard would do it.
Yep.
It's like, hey, like I kind of know who I know and trust and who I like.
Yep.
And so
that's business with those
and
folks.
you're going to do business with those people. It's understandable.
Yep.
But it's also like we're all on the same side of the table.
Yep.
And so my approach has just been like the reason why I have any ounce of success is because like I'm just leaning into as many people as I possibly can and trying to take those opportunities. So that's why I'm ultimately here as well.
That's good, man. So, hustling. Yeah. Nate, he's on the podcast.
Yep. Look out for us, man. Doing big things.
All right. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure, man.